So I'm going to extend off my latest video talking about Sonic Rangers and the rumors and leaks surrounding them. I've already talked about the details surrounding Sonic Rangers and some of the potential this game has, but ever since then, I've been reflecting more and more on the idea of a Sonic open world game, and Sonic Team working on it, topped off with some of you guys in the comments mirroring some of what I felt and described. This one will be on the shorter side, but is still a general follow-up to Sonic Rangers being an open world game, as the more I'm sitting on it, I'm starting to doubt more and more of this game living up to the task it's setting up for itself. This is all assuming this new Sonic game will be open world, and if the Sonic Rangers leaks are real, mind you, and they can easily not be, it's just there's a lot going into the leaks' favor that I already specified before. And again, this still could be a good game for all I know, I really hope it's a good game, but I'm finding more issues and potential problems in how this may not work out because it's supposedly an open world Sonic game. So the leaks describe the game as open world, having various puzzles, enemies, and platforming challenges throughout, with Sonic breaking off into cyberspace levels akin to Generations. It sounds like there's plenty on here that can make for a very interesting and fun Sonic game, and then I remembered you could say that about most Sonic games post-Adventure 2, 06, Heroes, Forces, even Unleashed and Generations, when those two in my opinion are good games, but that's beside the point. A lot of issues revolving around Sonic Rangers, this supposed new Sonic game coming in 2022 that might be open world, boiled down to the project itself effectively being way too big for Sonic Team and SEGA to handle. One main problem of an open world Sonic game is the sheer fact that it's an open world game, especially looking at the potential scope of the game. I already touched upon this in the last video, open world games are fun and exciting but are so easy to mess up, given their grand scope and have a lot of variables and factors into designing them, and whatever mechanics and levels introduced, even among experienced developers. But I believe it's going to be even more tricky when this is a Sonic game we're talking about. I originally figured, oh, the world Sonic's running around in would have to be smaller than Breath of the Wild because it's a Sonic game. Those usually are smaller in scope compared to most other games, not just Zelda, let alone Breath of the Wild. But then I looked back at how the boost games are designed, really any 3D Sonic, and that's when I realized a Sonic open world game would need to accommodate Sonic's gameplay and mechanics by either being roughly as big as Breath of the Wild's world, if not even bigger. You guys pointed this out in the comments as well, like Breath of the Wild's world is insanely massive, insanely spread out. That's already a 200 to 300 hour game just exploring everything and checking most of the game out. Forget 100%ing it. But replace Link with Sonic from either Unleashed or Generations or the adventure games, and he could probably run around that entire world in insanely less time, like between a quarter or even a tenth of that time when you apply most of Sonic's gameplay and mechanics to most open world games. Granted, Breath of the Wild had all those puzzles, shrines, towns, Korok seeds, and other various landmarks and locales that keep players engaged, wanting to explore and are exploring for such a massive amount of time. I think we can all agree a Sonic game won't need as many towns or civilizations as Breath of the Wild if it's getting a lot of influence from that. But if a Sonic game designed like that is going to have similar puzzles and platforming challenges catering to Sonic's game design, alongside plenty of enemies that give XP to some kind of skill tree, you'd have to make dozens upon dozens of them to keep the player interested, but especially build a world that will compensate for Sonic's speed, and that's already such a massive scale you're forced to work with. They can't skirt the line too hard with trying to make Sonic slower, that's going to inherently garner criticism when you're making a fundamentally fast character slow. With all the puzzles and platforming levels, that's even more extra design you're trying to give Sonic, but making an enticing full open world Sonic game is something to where you'd either have to make a bunch of interesting designs of the world like loops, hills, slopes, and whatnot, alongside making the world just as, if not even bigger than the world Breath of the Wild set. And Breath of the Wild is already a ludicrously big game. Not even just something like Sonic Utopia or Green Hill Paradise either. Not like single levels that are just big. We're talking a whole ass Sonic game. Most mainline Sonic games on average take around half a dozen to a dozen hours to complete, but for an open world Sonic game to effectively work, they'd have to shoot for a couple dozens more, like 30 to 50 hours at least if we're basing the scope of the world and what it holds to its playtime. If we're going to compare the scope of the world to Sonic himself, look at any of his 3D games, the adventure games and their hub worlds and levels, or more profoundly, the boost games, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generations, even Sonic Colors and Sonic Forces. The boost games already have a lot of massive levels that take a lot of time to develop as is and are stretched so far and so big that they're already proving trying to compensate for Sonic's speed is a monumental task as is. Even games like Colors and Forces had massive levels broken up into parts in multiple acts, and you're sometimes running through that exact same part of that same level twice. Hence Sonic Forces Sunset Heights compared to Park Avenue, which is the same level. or some acts and colors that repeat specific parts of a previous level. Those were giant stages designed for the boost but broken up to pad out the length of a Sonic game. The good boost games, like in my opinion Sonic Unleashed and Generations, were made super huge, with the latter having some expansive level design and took a ton of time to develop, with even extra visual details and nods in the levels themselves most people are gonna miss. But even the worser ones like Colors or Forces still had massive levels broken up to pad out the game if they didn't have conjoining gameplay styles, which Forces did and it still dropped the ball. So then that begs the question, how in the world are they going to translate those stretched out levels, those huge levels and worlds Sonic always blazes through, into a big open world where you also explore? I'd have to assume you need a much bigger world for that to be both feasible and entertaining, and I don't think that's going to be if you're forced to work with such massive goals already in designing a Sonic game, that there's reason to think this may be too much for Sonic Team to handle here. I could be overestimating all this, to be fair, and Sonic Team spending 4 years this time, quote unquote, would prove to be in their favor when they're not worrying about fine-tuning an engine this time. But we've been shown time and time again, they can be given all the time in the world and that can still flounder when you don't effectively use that time, nor your resources well, hence Forces. Not only this, but assuming they really are going the open world approach akin to Breath of the Wild, that's like completely uncharted territory for SEGA and Sonic Team, which makes this an even more volatile and risky situation for them. I mean, I respect them attempting the go big or go home approach, and this feels like a better step than what Lost World and Forces did. Actual risks feel like they're being put here, and as volatile as that can be, it still takes some courage and guts if true, with even more integrity gained if they don't horribly miss the mark. But there stands a pretty high chance the wall they're trying to climb may be a little bit too ambitious and tall for them given the nature of open world games, Sonic's core gameplay design, especially if you apply how they designed the boost games, and how much you would have to add, design, and fine-tune for it to effectively work as a massive open world game with exploration and collectibles involved. The second other problem I have is they're trying to juggle two ambitious game designs at once. The whole open world approach is already a make or break type game, that a Sonic open world game is something I feel like even the Breath of the Wild developers would struggle in, but them making puzzles, enemies to fight, platform challenges, and boost-like levels to give the player more to do kind of feels like a big multitasking feat. Sonic games always felt the need to accompany Sonic's main gameplay style by another type of element, whether a secondary style like the Werehog, Classic Sonic, the Avatar, etc., or by extra characters with extra stories to where they play similar to Sonic but have their own unique mechanics and traits that make them stand out, sometimes even with their own original levels. The way the leak describes the game is an open world game with enemies to fight, abilities to gain, puzzles to find and clear, and also cyberspace boost levels like Generations. They're not only trying to manage designing an open world game for Sonic, but they also might be designing boost stages as well for more action and to compensate Sonic running around an open world. I already described how hard it is already for Sonic Team to design levels for the boost formula. Every level on Unleashed and Generations are mostly well designed, but especially super big and tough to create because of how the boost fundamentally works, and Sonic Colors and Forces stages were broken up to spread the game's length out more, and when you combine those big stages instead of breaking them up, the game ends up being a lot shorter, yet the levels, as few of them there are in that scenario, are better designed. And for those boost stages to be solid and entertaining, at least the cyberspace ones, I would imagine they not only need different visual themes like beach, grass, mountains, etc., but also to have good design and proper length, which ever since Forces, the budget angle Sonic's been taking these past couple of years, and how often Sonic Team is swapping developers and designers, I'm not sure if that's super feasible. The boost games have had different developers work on them. Most of Unleashed's level designers haven't worked on a Sonic game since Unleashed. Colors and Lost World shared most of its level designers. Two of Unleashed's level designers also worked on Sonic Generations level design, one of which was the lead level designer for Unleashed. Half of Generations level designers also designed Colors, and yet Forces had completely new level designers who never worked on a Sonic game before. Not only this, but plenty of talent behind Unleashed moved on to make Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, other Nintendo games between designers, programmers, planners, etc. Sonic Team has various different developers going in and out of Sonic games, so the inconsistency in that explains here and there why some games are so well designed and why some others fall short come Unleashed onward, and we still don't know for sure who's designing the levels and world, let alone directing, planning, programming, etc. Some sources claim the guys who worked on Generations and Forces are level designing this game, but I think that's a rumor, along with the fact that contradicts the level designers since the Forces level designers never worked on a Sonic game before Forces unless they mean both the Sonic Forces level designers and the Generations level designers, so I'm reserving my judgments on that. but it's really going to fall hard on SEGA and Sonic Team organizing competent programmers in making the world work, making Sonic control well, upon everything else, but the level designing team and designing the world as well as the boost stages. Because if the boost gameplay is coming back, and there will be stages specific to that style as well, people are going to expect good stage design for those, and after Forces, it's really hard to say or know what the outcome will be, especially when they take so much time and space to develop as is. That's not even factoring how the puzzles and other challenges will be designed in the game. Will the puzzles be interesting or fun to take part in, or even be rewarding enough? It's just a massive mountain of designing they'd have to carefully analyze and structure that doing it for an open world is inherently such a monumental task already, that when they're already struggling making competent boost games and levels for boost gameplay for Sonic games, trying to do both at once I feel like may be too much. They're really going to need either enough people to carefully design both efficiently, or the right talented people who know how to design either if not both. The third problem, something I've skirted here and have stated numerous times already in other videos, is Sonic Team themselves. There's the one factor being how incompetent they can be given their most recent game, Forces if not Lost World, 06, Shadow, etc. Their inconsistency is also another factor, not even just because of some worser Sonic games, but mainly from the fact, again, Sonic Team changes plenty of staff members on the dime, even after one Sonic game. We've yet to see how many new or returning programmers, directors, designers, etc. are returning, yet it'll likely be a hot while for us to get answers regarding that. There's also the odd approach of over-magnifying their reach beyond core Sonic fans, trying to appease other types of Sonic and non-Sonic fans alike. The haphazard attempt to appease 2D fans with classic Sonic, despite mania existing custom creator fans with the Avatar, and modern fans with modern Sonic and Forces, or more particularly Lost World's attempt at catching Nintendo's own audience. The level design and gimmicks heavily scream Mario and Mario Galaxy, and that was a flawed attempt from both trying to capture Nintendo's audience, but especially Sonic's own player base. Assuming the leaks are right on the money, with them trying to go for a Breath of the Wild approach, a massive open world with various Korok seed-like puzzles and challenges sprinkled around the world, that very much does describe Breath of the Wild, and given their first major attempt at that Nintendo approach, I have reason to suspect it won't go as well, especially with something even more ambitious than the linear Mario Galaxy styled levels. Don't take this as me wanting to crap on the game once it drops. An open world Sonic game could prove to be extremely fun, ambitious, and really entertaining and innovative if they play their cards right, but ever since I delved into those leaks, I've been getting more and more suspicious of their likelihood of them pulling it off. Getting more pessimistic, but it's just another Sonic game that's still a year and a half out from being done, so who can really say until we get more context. Thanks for listening to my pessimistic rambling, my whole woke speech of doom being laid out for Sonic like any Sonic tuber would usually do, ironically or not. I do think this game still has a shot or two of being solid, but the more you sit on something and the less context you're given, you can't help but overanalyze and worry somewhat, you know? That's my take though. Don't take one single guy's opinions too seriously though. It's all conjecture and speculation anyways. Do you guys agree with anything here or nah? Do you think I'll be proven wrong in E3 or sometime after? Let me know. Again, thank you guys for watching and stick around for more Sonic content and gaming content, period. Stay super.